Welcome to the Thornton Review.
The show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us.
Looking for a job can be a daunting task for anyone, but it doesn't have to be. We've invited Dr. McBride, CEO, CAREERSOURCE, ESCAROSA, to tell us about the tools and resources for employers and job seekers that are available to help anyone in our community find employment. Dr. McBride, it is so great to have you on the show. Welcome. Can you tell us briefly a little about yourself?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm the CEO of CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA, and I am so happy to work alongside of some of the most passionate people that are really centered on helping people live their best life.
We're going to continue our discussion with Dr. McBride, but first we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll begin our discussion with Dr. McBride about employment and training opportunities in our area. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that.
I'm Marcus McBride, and I'd like to welcome you to CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA.
We are a nonprofit organization committed to supporting the needs of Escambia and Santa Rosa counties, providing employment and training resources for area job seekers and employers. Our no-call services can be accessed online or by visiting one of our 3 career centers. We're located in Pensacola, Milton, and Century. So give us a call and set up an appointment, and let our dynamic group of experienced career professionals help you with all of your employment needs.
Marcus L. McBride, Ph.D., serves as the Chief Executive Officer for CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA. Dr. McBride currently provides executive leadership for the agency dedicated as the local workforce development board for Region 1 of CAREERSOURCE Florida Network. CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA partners with Florida Commerce to provide numerous services and funding opportunities for businesses and job seekers in Escambia and Santa Rosa counties. Dr. McBride currently serves as president of the Florida Workforce Development Association and vice president of the board of directors for Opening Doors of Northwest Florida. He also serves on the board of directors for the Greater Pensacola Chamber, HCA Florida West Hospital, and Achieve Escambia. Dr. McBride, this might be a broad general question, but what is CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA?
Well, CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA is the best resource for all things workforce for Escambia and Santa Rosa County. We are the organization that is identified as the local workforce development board, and that means that we are the place that any employer and any job seeker should turn to when they think of, we need help with either developing our talent or gaining a talent to enter the workforce.
What types of jobs are offered?
So we work with every employer in Escambia and Santa Rosa County who chooses to work with the local workforce development board. We don't have a particular job that we will post only, so it's not limited to a particular sector, but it's for all sectors and for all employers that are looking to hire people. We do encourage our business services team members and the team there at CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA to target employers that are offering high wage and high skill so that we can prevent people from being faced with automation as things change. We want to make sure that we prepare people that are looking for employment with the necessary skills for a job that will, in a career that will last for a lifetime to take care of their families. And we want to make sure that we don't put people in a place where in a few years you look around and you see that something's been automated to the place where you don't need the person, but we want to make sure that person has a skill that will keep them from being outsourced one day to automation, but also maybe being able to help with creating automated thought and engineering some of those pieces to make sure that we can be the resource for our employers.
Sounds a little like you may be referring to cashiers at Walmart and Home Depot, I've noticed. Well, I was at a place the other day that didn't have any cashiers at all. They didn't even have anybody at the front checking to make sure that you actually paid for what you had. It just had you go into the store, you fill your shopping cart or your basket, and you go up front and you check out yourself. And I guess it's on the honor system because there was literally nobody in there.
I think that is a great point when you ask what CareerSource ESCAROSA is, and then we automatically jumped into the space of talking about automation. And I always say, think about when you went into the convenience stores or when you went grocery shopping 20 years ago and when you go today. And when you think of completely different. And when you think of someone who needs employment or who's looking for a skill or training for employment, we want to make sure that we place that person in a place where they're not going to end up being challenged with automation in years to come, but they will have a career that is on the side of higher skill that ends in higher wages so that your family can be taken care of. And we've seen that with cashiers. And now if we have someone coming in our doors, we want to make sure that we're connecting you to a place where maybe you can train to be the person who's designing the automative tools to help a place with a cashier, right? We want to make sure that we're able to identify those places for our children and the people in our community to say that this is a skill set that I can gain through this training that will help me grow beyond this world of work to a greater skill and a greater demand. So that's the purpose of the local workforce development board, to make sure that we're investing resources in those people that are looking for employment and investing that resource in our employers who are employing the people that are employed in our region. Exactly.
So when the business world evolves into a different type of employment, CareerSource ESCAROSA also evolves into the type of training that they provide. Absolutely. And in order to do that, we have to be connected with the training providers. We have to be connected with employers, and we're the hub of that. We are actually sitting down with our employers. We're sitting down with our training providers and trying to make sure that when training is designed, it's designed to make sure it's meeting the needs of employers. So that, if you go to school and you go to a training program and you're training to be an underwater basket weaver, well, we don't have many jobs here in Pensacola for an underwater basket weaver. So why would we invest dollars into that training when it won't end up in any fruitful employment for the job seeker or employer? So we have to make sure that we're sitting at the table with all the right people, and there's many partners, many great collaborative partners in Escambia and Santa Rosa counties that are looking to make sure that we continue to focus on the things that matter most to make our communities a great place to live, work, and play. And I don't say that half-heartedly. There are a lot of great leaders and a lot of great people that make sure that when we're sitting around the table, we're considering what's going to make this region grow, what will help make us prosper so that our schools will be better, and even staying on top of things to make sure that people looking to move into the state of Florida or looking to relocate can say Pensacola is a great place to call home and is a great place to live for those that are here. So who exactly is eligible to apply? Is anybody not eligible to apply? If you're a resident in Santa Rosa or Escambia counties, you are eligible for all services at CareerSource ESCAROSA. There are a number of different programs that we offer that do have different eligibility criteria attached to those programs. But if you're an employer and you're looking for skilled talent, we're there to help. And if you are a job seeker who's looking for employment, we're there to help. So there's just a limitation because of the region. We cover Escambia and Santa Rosa County. But if you're looking for employment and you're in another state, you can go to our website and you can look at all the different opportunities we have here. But if you're looking to tap into some of those specific training opportunities or training grants for job seekers and employers, you definitely have to be a resident of this area to obtain that resource. What types of screening do applicants go through? So there's a couple of different screening tools that are particular to our actual employers. There's some employers who say before these individuals offered an interview, we want to make sure that they can type at this many words per minute. Before a person who is offered an interview for this company, they may say we want to know that they can operate this type of machinery, or they can operate this type of equipment.
those different screening tests are built into multiple platforms that we use at CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA. And the team there in the resource room meets people where they are every day to identify what route works best for them. Everything won't work the same manner for all of the people that we're helping, but we do work with those who are walking in the door, and if they are motivated and reliable, I always say we will get you ready for employment.
So whether you have a high school diploma or a college degree or any experience whatsoever, you can go to CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA and get the training that you need, or you might just already have the talent to be placed into a job and you might not need training.
Absolutely. The last career fair that we had, I actually talked with 2 engineers there who were looking for employment. And I always think that when employers sometimes may think of the individuals who are looking for employment, you may automatically think that this person may be underskilled or not skilled or lacking skills. Mm-hmm. There's people that are looking to transition to another career or that have recently finished a training program that's relying on CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA to help them find employment through placement, because that's what we do. So whatever skill level may exist in the job seeker, we're there to help you match with an employer that's going to be the perfect or near perfect work home for you.
So what makes CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA such a benefit to the community?
Oh, well, there's great people that work at CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA. Let me say I have a team of passionate people that are driven by philanthropy and love to see people fare well. That's the heart of the organization. The team there, really, they care about people. And when you work with a group of people that care, it makes a world of difference. And as well as the team caring, there's a number of resources that are there to help job seekers and employers. And so if you walk into a space and you are looking for employment, and maybe you're not from the generation that grew up with a computer or an iPad, and you're intimidated by that, I often watch people in my resource room meet people exactly where they are and saying, okay, I can help you with that. Or if you can't navigate the computer, this is a class that we have that can help you learn computer skills. These are training opportunities to help you so that you can become a competitive job seeker while employers are looking for those with talent. So the best thing about CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA is the people. And the people care, and not only do they care about getting job seekers skilled up, but they care about the employer because they know how important it is to make sure that our economic environment continues to thrive here, and they want to make sure they're connecting people with skills and talent into a space where they're going to help the employer continue to be successful.
So it sounds like there are several departments, specifically 3 categories of CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA. That's just what I'm gathering. You've got training, you have job seekers, and you have employers. So I'm just trying to wrap my brain around everything you do. It's all so interesting. Can any business offer employment and become a partner with CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA? Like what businesses are with CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA, and what do they have to do to become a partner?
So we have a business services team at CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA, and that business service team functions to be a resource for our employers. And you think about anything from a training grant to help an employer train their current workforce, or a training grant to help an employer train an employee that needs to gain skills to further develop while they're going through this training period. So we offer on-the-job training grants that reimburse wages for employers. We offer worker training grants where we pay for current workforce needs for an employer so that, hey, I need to train my team on this new piece of equipment. And if they don't learn this training, then it could be not the best thing for my company. So we offer training grants to help that employer. We offer training grants to help the employer who's willing to give someone an opportunity to learn on the job. And we also help employers that are relocating to the area tap into some of the funding that's provided from the state, who says that if you're interested in moving to the state of Florida and you are a business that is offering certain wages and offering a number of different opportunities for our residents, we're definitely wanting to see how we can also be a resource for you to get you established in the state of Florida. So there's a number of resources that we offer for employers, and definitely glad to know that, if you are a business and you want to work and you want to provide a place of work for people that live in Escambia and Santa Rosa County, we want to be a resource. You can't find employment without the employer. And beginning with the end in mind means that we're always going to be employer-centric and looking at ways of how we can help employers.
That's great. Charles, do you want to?
Yeah, a couple of questions here. The first one is, I think you answered it all, but I was going to ask you, was there a required minimum skill? And I think you answered that, but you can maybe go back over that. And another one is there ability to do a job? Is there a way that CAREERSOURCE, ESCAROSA have to, how do you judge an individual ability to do a job and make sure you place them in on the right career path?
So I think that's a great question, Mr. Thornton. One of the benefits of an employer using CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA is that you can identify what skills are necessary for the potential candidate, and then I have a great team of people that's going to look at that list and compare different assessments that we may have, and also look in our bank of people that may be looking for our database of people that are looking for employment, and see what skills that are currently out there in that database, that the Employ Florida system, to connect and match that actual individual with that job posting. Now, if you are saying, hey, this person may not have the CDL to be a truck driver, but they have the interest in becoming a truck driver, then the person in the resource room would connect that job seeker to the training program to become that said truck driver. And then if an employer is looking for someone to drive a truck, then we're going to have that person identified in our Employ Florida system to match the employer with the potential candidate. And while they're in the training program, we're still working with the individual to see how they're doing, what are the services they may need, and how can we help best support their success while they're training for employment. And as in people come in to the center and say, hey, I have a CDL, this is an example, and I'm looking for employment as a truck driver, then we're able to be that conduit to put that person who's looking for a job in transportation services with the person and employer who's hiring for someone with a CDL. And that's a very competitive market now, by the way. There's a lot of people that are training to become CDL, become truck drivers, and there's a lot of employers that are looking for those truck drivers. And we've got some great training providers in our region that are providing the service. And so I couldn't dare mention one, but they are out there. Okay,
that's great. I look at where we are now as far as employment and AI and all of this stuff, and I think about I was listening to Napoleon Hill. He had a book, and he was talking about how back during the old days, the thing was that when people would go pick up groceries, you would walk up to a counter, and you tell them what you want, and they would go back. You didn't get you just told them what you want, and they would go back, and then the owner of Piggly Wiggly came up with an idea. Piggly Wiggly, he created Piggly Wiggly, and what he done, this Napoleon Hill said this, he said what that guy did was he created a way so folks can walk in the store and created a way that you can walk around and you can get your stuff. Then you can go through the checkout line, and how that made him those type of things. That's how we evolved. Yeah, that's how far we have evolved. From at one time, you had to go give them the list.
Right.
And
like Little House on the Prairie at the Olson's Mercantile, they would go in and do. Did you ever watch Little House on the Prairie? That's what they did. That's what you're describing.
They would go and give them the list, and I'm sure we none of us remember that because I've always had.
I remember Piggly Wiggly though.
And another thing is that when I was coming up, not that, but when I was coming up, there were the what you call employment office, and that employment office, you would go there, and they had some things that they would do and try to find you a job, and eventually the employment office kind of faded away, and I never was successful at getting a job through the employment office. I eventually had to go somewhere, and that was a company called AAA Employment. And they got me a job working at a place called Pensacola Mill Supply, and I had to pay them part of my salary for so long.
Yeah, and they also take out for insurance. They take out a lot for insurance.
Yeah,
and they seem to, because I went through them too. They seem to pay a lot less than if you went out and got a job. But that was the old days, and I don't know.
You did, yeah, and I got the job there, and that particular employment office was, I think it was state funded with some money from the Department of Labor or something like that. Can you tell me, do you know anything about that employment office? Is that what transitioned? How did we get to where we are now? Because the state employment office just kind of went away. How did we transition into?
So I can tell you where we are today in about the history of CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA. Okay. And for the residents in Escambia and Santa Rosa County, CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA has existed to provide all of the services or more services that were provided through some of those older and familiar organizations known as the Employment Office. And we're yet the Employment Office, and we like to think of that we're that resource for employment. So if you are someone who's been around Pensacola for over, say, 30 years, you may remember CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA, known as Workforce ESCAROSA. Okay. Workforce ESCAROSA predated CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA, and then around 95 or 96, we saw that the CAREERSOURCE Florida branding went across the state, and as the state workforce board system changed to make sure that we were identified the same across all regions and all cities, that CAREERSOURCE Florida branding came out to unify the system so that people looking for employment and employers looking for skilled talent knew where to go. They knew which door to knock on and which phone to pick up and call to say, this is what I need. And that was the purpose of that. So maybe it's a more unified approach, Mr. Thornton, that people are relying on that CAREERSOURCE Florida brand and network to realize that we're all things employment, a little different from when it existed directly under other agencies. Now, I can't speak to that exactly because I wasn't around. I'm a child of the '80s, so I definitely was not there for that period. But I'm grateful for the spot that I'm in now to help people find employment and help job seekers find training programs. That
is awesome. I'm grateful that you're there too, and your office is just wonderful. I've been to CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA on 9th Avenue. I have one more. I met you prior to COVID right after you came here, and we got together, and I took you over to WRNE, and you was on Hill in the morning, and at that particular time, you guys was having a big job fair, and you had all these different companies, and I haven't heard nothing about a job fair. You still, do you still have those big job fairs?
I am so glad you brought that up because we do. And January 25th, we had a career fair that was held out at the fairgrounds, and we had over 500 job seekers and nearing 100 vendors there looking for employment, looking for people that to join their workforce or offering a service to help people become prepared to be employable. But that 505 individuals turning out, and 74 of those were veterans. And another great resource for our world of employers here is that we have a great resource in veterans, because we have a lot of veterans that choose to hang around and live in our community, and we're grateful for them. And it's just a great selling point, because we know that as people transition from the armed forces into the civilian world, many of them are looking to continue to work. So we're just grateful for our veterans. And that career fair, great turnout, Mr. Thornton. We're still doing it. And if employers need to register for a career fair or register for a hiring event specific to their organization, we do that as well.
And that is what convinced me, and that's when I got on board, and I became one of CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA's biggest supporter, because you guys just didn't sit in the building and wait on them. You took it out to the community for sale.
We appreciate your support.
Is there a fee to partner your business with CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA?
There's no fee for services for employers or for job seekers. We are a resource that's a no-fee resource. We're the free version of all those platforms that offer job seeking and talent matching services. If you're paying for it, I would guarantee you should probably consider some of the things that you could get for no fee from the CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA network.
So is there a time limit? Like once a business partners with CareerSource ESCAROSA, are they there for a certain amount of time? Is there a contract? How does that work?
There's no contract. If you are an employer in the region here, there's a number of resources that are available. You don't have to sign up in any particular contract. We ask that you're registered in the Employer Florida system so that you're identified as an employer, you're a reputable business, and that as we're connecting talent to a place that will have sensitive information, that you're that you are of good quality and that you are a viable employer. So we make sure that they are an employer and a licensed business in the state of Florida before we post any positions on the Employer Florida system. There's a lot of different places that could possibly advertise this type of employment, and then you find out it's really looking for not full-time employment or not part-time employment, but maybe a day labor so we want to make sure that it's actually something that's going to be of substance that will, not that being a day laborer is bad, because I say an honest job, the honest pay is a great pay. So that is always my motto. We want to help everybody get to that space. So I'm saying that when we have positions that are posted on Employer Florida, we want to make sure that it's going to be one that's of high skill and high wage so that we can continue to help people move it forward instead of in any other direction.
I'd like to talk about the legislative role in funding, but first we're going to take a commercial break. But very quickly before the commercial, who pays the employee once you match them with the employer? Is it CareerSource ESCAROSA or is it the employer? And is the employee still affiliated with CareerSource ESCAROSA, or are they detached and put with that business that they're working with and then no longer affiliated with CareerSource? How does that work?
So there's a couple of different ways that looks. There's some individuals who are looking for employment who may be on course to train for 2 years in nursing school, and that person may go work at a great hospital system post their training program, and they may get a phone call from a career advisor every other month just checking in saying, hey, are things still going great? Do you need our help? What do you need from us? And that is the route, and that's the role that we play as a role of support and a role of making sure that we connect that person to the right employer or in the right field to always identify us as a resource. There's also people that may need skills for training, and we may have an employer who's saying we're willing to train the person on the job, and that person would be a little bit more attached, and CareerSource ESCAROSA may pay 50% of those wages for that individuals. And of course that check-in period would be different for the employer and the job seeker, but that's a resource that provides an added benefit for an employer who's willing to train on the job, and for a job seeker who's willing to spend that time with an employer to learn the skill. So it's kind of a win-win for both parties, and definitely for the employer.
Sounds like it. That's great. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion.
I'm Marcus McBride, and I'd like to welcome you to CareerSource ESCAROSA.
We are a nonprofit organization committed to supporting the needs of Escambia and Santa Rosa counties, providing employment and training resources for area job seekers and employers. Our no-call services can be accessed online or by visiting one of our 3 career centers. We're located in Pensacola, Milton, and Century. So give us a call and set up an appointment, and let our dynamic group of experienced career professionals help you with all of your employment needs.
Dr. McBride, I'd like to talk about the funding, legislative role in the funding for CareerSource ESCAROSA. Can you break that down for us?
I'm not an expert at that level to break all the funding down, but I can tell you the basic principles of the workforce development system. Here in the state of Florida, the state policy board is CareerSource Florida. And CareerSource Florida's president and CEO is appointed by the governor of the state, and that's policy. The policy board works to make sure that the funding programs that fund workforce systems are also guided by principles that are going to make sure that it ends in the best result for the constituents. So there's a great great sense of support of our legislative arm always, because when we talk about what things will make our communities greater, we know it takes a certain sense of advocacy from multiple angles. And working with our legislative office and those elected officials here, we're always able to talk about things that may be coming down the pike that will end in greater economic self-sufficiency for the residents of Pensacola. So the funding is federal and state that's funded, funneled through Florida Commerce for our residents here and for the CAREERSOURCE Florida Network. And then that board at the state level, CAREERSOURCE Florida, works to make sure that the policies are in place to support things that are going to move Florida forward and going to make sure that our economy is thriving here. So it's all hand in hand to make sure that, one, we know if people aren't working, then communities can't be thriving, because if people are working, then we have a sense of economic development and funds to support other spaces in our communities that really matter.
Do you have a goal? Is there a certain number of applicants that you strive for each year or each month?
It'd be great if we could say that, hey, we have met the goal of zero unemployment and everyone's working and no one is looking for employment. You know, that I would say would be an unrealistic goal, because we know that some people actually have an organic barrier that may not allow them to do certain things. But we definitely want to make sure that people that are looking for employment are given the opportunity to train and become employable. And we want to make sure that we don't limit ourselves and our outreach or not have the capacity to serve those who are looking for employment or employers that are looking for talent. So we don't have a specific number saying that this is how many people we want to help, because as things fluctuate and as the unemployment number may dip and may venture back up depending on certain conditions of employers' growth or employers' closure, we want to make sure that we're the resource so that that targeted number is a fluid approach because of how we look at things across the panhandle here, as well as how we're looking at the state of Florida and our region. So great question, and our goal is to make sure that we're always there as a resource. And if we can be a resource for a job seeker and an employer, that is our win, to make sure that we're connecting people to the training programs that they need, and that we're also working with our school districts, we're working with our employers, we're working with our training providers, we're working with families, we're working with veterans. That is our goal, is to make sure that we can be the resource needed for all things employment.
So how do businesses partner with CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA? Do they go online? Does the business owner or manager or representative have to go to the office and speak with someone? What steps do they take to become a partner?
Typically, the business services team members are out in the community, and they're the boots on the ground that's knocking on the business's door saying, hey, what do you need from us and how can we help you? Are you looking for employees? What employees are you looking for? And then through that process, the team will help them register and employ Florida, survey their needs, and identify ways that we can be that partner to help them. We want to be a resource. I'll say that repeatedly. We want to be a resource for employers, beginning with the end in mind. We cannot be a resource for a job seeker if we do not have employers on board saying this is what we need and this is the talent we need.
What exactly, what businesses are eligible to partner with? Are there any businesses that aren't eligible to partner with CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA?
Well, you have to be a business that's in the state of Florida, and you have to be a reputable business and in good standing and registered in SunBiz. So those are some of the general requirements.
Registered on SunBiz.
Right.
Okay.
Those are some of the general requirements
one.
for an employer who wants to post a posting in the Employ Florida system. If there's someone who has an entrepreneurial spirit and they want to know more about how to become an entrepreneur, or how to identify other resources, there's partners in the community that we would refer you over to speak with. If you are not a business but you're looking to open your own business, we particularly don't identify ourselves as that spirit of that person who is helping the entrepreneur become an entrepreneur.
Is that
but there's options in there. I would say if you become an employer, you become a greater asset for the region, because not only you are employed, but you're also employing others. So
even if they're undecided on the type of business they want to start, do you have the screening to try to figure out what they're good at or what their potential is to help them push them in the direction that they should go to to determine what business to start?
We do. If people are struggling to figure out, hey, what I want to do when I grow up, we've got a number of assessment tools that can help you figure out.
Like the Army has the ASVAB test to determine what training that their soldiers are going to go to.
And so we use
AIT school.
Right, we use a platform. It's Connexa, and Connexa has hundreds of assessments that help people identify their talents. Mm-hmm. And we also use the ONET, a couple of things, and we use the TABE testing for our partners at Georgetown and Laughlin and PSC for different things, because you have to TABE into certain, levels to be able to enter to training programs, which makes sense. If you are in the hospital, you want to make sure that your nurse can read the prescription bottle. So if someone's going to nursing school, they need some basic skills proficiency to say that, hey, this person is able to be successful in a nursing program. So those things are important too when you're talking about careers and training and workforce development. How do you assess people, their levels? And that starts from the moment you walk into the center after a great greeting and identifying if you're a veteran or not. Then people ask, what can we do for you? And how do you know that you're a suitable one for one type of field? So we start with some assessments, and then if you're really wanting to do that type of work, how do we help you identify your talents and your interests?
I have a question for you, and that is, you are a doctor, and you graduated from the University of Alabama. That's where you got to, and that's. I was born in Alabama, so I'm a Alabama fan. Wrote that lifelong Alabama fan. I didn't go to school there, but I'm an Alabama fan. What I want to know is what is it? So there are plenty of opportunities. There still are out there for you. What is it that drew you to CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA? Because there are other fields of endeavor that you should have went into, and you're still there. I know I met you about 3-4 years ago, and you're still there, and you still seem excited, and I'm listening to you in your voice. What is it about CAREERSOURCE?
Well, thank you for that. I did attend the University of Alabama, where I got my PhD in educational psychology, and it's working with the community, working with people, working with individuals who need an advocate at the table in rooms that they may not have access to, has always driven me to the work that I do. Workforce development is important, because if you can't work, you don't have a high quality of life or any quality of life. So think about, if you would have asked me maybe 20 years ago, what do you want to do when you grow up? I may not have said workforce development particularly, but I would have said that I wanted to help people, and I wanted to be in a place where I could also advocate for resources that would help people fare well and help people take care of their families. And I get to do that every day with a great team of people. So I'm actually in the sweetest spot I've been in life, Mr. Thornton, and thinking of like my professional world and my personal goals align, and I really love what I do. So yes, it's about, I guess, that perfect match for me, because CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA has been a great place to call my work home, and I'm enjoying every moment of it. It is a challenge at times, because we are trying to be so many things to so many different individuals, employers and job seekers, and we're also navigating many waters when we talk about what's happening in the legislation that may impact the services that we provide or how we provide them. So we're continuing to be innovative, thoughtful, and resourceful for our community, as well as trying to make sure that when things are coming towards us, we're not being reactive but proactive. So thinking ahead to be being a great resource for this area. So thank you for the flattery on saying that I could do many other things, and I probably could, but I'm enjoying the thing that I'm doing right now, and that's helping people.
Okay, good answer. Okay. Right.
So, what about employment at CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA? Do you all seek employees, and what type of training and what type of background do you have to become an employee of CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA?
Well, the greatest thing about my team is that they're so eager to help people find employment, and they're able to post a number of employment offerings for everyone else. The other part is that I have a team of people that know where every opening job is in Pensacola. So we are an employer. We're a competitive employer, and I want great talent on my team. I want people that have a passion for helping people and have their head and their heart in the right place. So yes, we're hiring. We've got a couple of positions now that are very important to a number of teams there. our jobs veteran state grant team, JVSG team. This is the veteran employment team that works with our veteran population and work with our employers to really make sure we're identifying those companies that are looking to hire our veterans that may have been here for years, or that may be exiting the military, that are becoming newer to the civilian world, or those that have been civilians for a number of years that need to re-engage into the world of work. So that's one space that JVSG team is looking for help. I've got our welfare transition and SNAP teams looking for career advisors. I've got my WIOA team, and that's the team that works with people in training programs that's looking for a case manager now. So there's opportunity, and we've seen that across the board here since probably the last 2 years, that we're really looking at how people have changed their view of the world of work, and we're trying to make sure that we're a competitive employer as well, being flexible and making sure that people that work at CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA say that, hey, I work at one of the best places to work and to call a work home. So
can we talk about some of the legislative bills that have been passed recently?
So right now, this is a great question, because we're in session, and things are happening every day that impact the lives of the people that live in our community, as well as the programs that are provided. And myself and my colleagues, as serving as the president of the Florida Workforce Development Association, I get the opportunity to hear from my colleagues across the state and talk about things that impact job seekers and impact employers. And one thing that we have identified as areas where we could be supportive is in any area that removes barriers for people seeking employment. And so how that we can look at different programs to help people achieve economic self-sufficiency that prevents huge cliffs and benefits. We're looking at ways that we can help people transition from, maybe being a person who is enrolled into a program that is transitioning from a program that won't lose benefits to the impact that it doesn't make it appealing to enter to the world of work. So we're looking at some of those benefits that we need to transition within a period of time, so that people may get to a place of training and employment, but they're just dropped off in this space with lack of support where they can't be successful, and they're losing more benefits than they are gaining by entering the world of work. So being very intentional with how do we help job seekers is important, and looking at how do we promote economic self-sufficiency when we're working in the community and explaining to other people about the work that we do that supports different programs. And our training providers, our post-secondary institutions, our individuals that are in the workforce that may come utilize some of our resources, every bit of the community is impacted by what happens in the legislative branch. So I encourage our community members to be vigilant and to pay attention to things, and to talk to your elected officials, because there's a lot of things that happen on a day-to-day basis, and it all at some point is either rolling up to a space where decisions have to be made to be the best thing, or in other terms, maybe not the best thing for our community. So, but it's been a great experience, and think about some of the things that has happened over the past several months. It's been a great experience working with my colleagues for some of the legislative affairs and talking about how do we help with the Florida's workforce development system transformation. That was a new thing that we've recently have definitely been working on to make sure that we're compliant with the governor's request of transforming the system, so that we are headed into being the best for our residents and employers in the state of Florida.
Dr. McBride, you must have read my mind, because that's the question I was going to ask you. I have it written down here, was what about our Northwest Florida legislation delegation to include our state senators and representatives? So I guess you would say, I would perceive that they're very supportive. Do you hear from them? Are they moving forward on stuff? What are their involvement?
I have a great board of directors, and relocating to this area, it was important to make sure that I've met our elected officials and had a conversation with them about the work that we do every day at CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA, and the ways that we partner and the ways that we support each other. So I've had really great support from our local elected officials, and sat down and had conversations with many of them about the world of workforce because it's important to them because it's important to their constituents. So because I could mess up and miss a name or not mention them all. So I won't mention any names, but I can tell you that Mr. Thornton, I've worked with some of the.
I won't mention any.
Okay, I work with some very thoughtful elected people that are called politicians, but they're also very caring and concerned about the place that we live in Northwest Florida. So yeah, that's actually a benefit, and Yeah, I've also I know Senator Brock's in meeting with him and hearing some of the things that he said, about workforce and asking me questions and getting to know about the work that we do. I know and that I appreciated that conversation, and so and him being in a place and as appropriations chair this past session or last year was really good for our area because he brought a number of resources here, and people should be aware of that, of things that are happening in Northwest Florida and people that are behind funneling resources here to our area.
One more question, then I'm going to turn over to Purcell. How do funds divvied up by regions? Is it competitive? Is it based on a certain amount of citizens or job seekers within certain areas? How does it up at the state level? How do they decide to? How do they divvy the funds up?
So the CAREERSOURCE Florida Network actually that the policy board that I was talking about earlier. If I talk numbers, I would say off the 24 boards there, CAREERSOURCE Florida is that administrative part of the pie, and they're probably about 14-15% of the WIOA, which is the federal bucket dollars, and that other 75-76% is spread out through the CAREERSOURCE Florida Network. And there's about $7.5 million that's set aside for quick response training, and that's for employers that are looking to relocate to the state of Florida. So the bulk of that WIOA funding is dispersed through the 24 local workforce development boards, and that is how we operate to provide the services for our employers and job seekers. And there's other buckets, but most of that is funded. That's funding our programs is WIOA, and that's Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and that's that bucket of funds that we operate out of.
Okay.
One of the buckets.
Does the city of Pensacola or do any homeless outreach organizations reach out to CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA for help in getting the homeless community jobs?
So that is a great question. And we have a lot of great partners. Partner with the city of Pensacola on projects, our counties in both areas. And so I would say if someone is homeless, then there's some other organic barriers that must be met before they're ready to go to work.
Okay.
So
so that's up to the organization that's helping them.
And we partner because just because
Okay.
someone is homeless today does not mean that they can't be getting ready to go to work.
Absolutely.
We have an online learning platform called Metrics, and Metrics offers over 6,000 courses that end in industry certifications. So if you're in any space where you have access to the internet and you have the technical acumen to use a computer, that is a resource for in any, say, homeless shelter or any prison or any jail. So those resources are there for people that are not ready to go to work tomorrow, but may be ready to work in 6 months or within a year, but they could start training today and earning some type of credential. Now, while you're skilling up for those different processes, or for different opportunities, you also have to be fed and sheltered and, having to do your activities, daily living to stay alive. So
they're stitle partnered with the homeless outreach organization.
Right. They may be partnering with one of the many providers and through Opening Doors or another partner, but there's definitely resources that are here. And
once they're ready, then they go to CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA and they move up the ladder and they get a job and they are able to sustain themselves.
Yes,
for the most part.
That is the goal. And there's when we think of the homeless, I'm passionate about working with people that have barriers, and I think about the homeless population and how many people that are homeless that actually have another hidden barrier that you can't see with the naked eye, and they have a lot of mental health issues, a lot of addiction issues. Not every homeless person, but there's a large number of people that are unsheltered because of those different barriers.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking more of people who are homeless because of a natural reason, like of a hurricane or sickness. But do you have any closing statements?
I just want to say that I've learned a lot, and I want to thank Dr. McBride for coming on the show today. I know he's been busy because we've been talking about getting him on the show for the last month and a half or two.
Yep.
And
we had to coax him on.
I was excited to be here.
He finally kind of loosened up his after work schedule.
Yeah.
to come and spend some time with us. I learned a lot, and like I said once before, I'm a big supporter of CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA because I know what it's like not to have a job and to having to go through that, and sometimes you just can't do it by yourself. You need a support network, and sometimes you need an agency. And CAREERSOURCE is there. And I'll say to anyone that there is hope. Whether you have a skill set, or whether you just want a job, you probably don't even know if you don't have a skill set. You probably have the ability to learn and to do something. And my first job, when I first went to work for the military, like on base, DOD, and then at Pensacola, the first job I had was I was a janitor, and I was in college, and I got this job as a WG2 laborer as a janitor. And man, I was a good janitor. I probably was one of the best. I probably could have got an award because while everybody was slacking, I mean, I was cleaning up the bathroom, the toilet, and everything.
Hired.
Yeah. Because I knew I wasn't going to stay there, and the supervisors and folks would come around and look at me, and the next thing I know, I was in civilian personnel, human resources. So it doesn't matter where you start. What you really want to do is just start somewhere. And I say that to all of mainly young folks out there. Start somewhere because the cream will always rise to the top. And the first thing you got to do is find a job and have a reputation for being dependable.
Dr. McBride, thank you so much for coming on the show. I learned a lot, and I'm going to partner my business with CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA.
That's awesome.
So you can watch our program on our newest outlet on WBQP 12.1 and Praise TV 12.8. And you can watch us on Praise TV on Roku Television Network or download Praise TV on Google Play Store. This show is made possible by Ida Gates Godly Teas, LLC, Next Door Real Estate Photography, First National Title Insurance Company, and our guest, Dr. McBride of CAREERSOURCE ESCAROSA. We thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. The Thornton Review is on the air to provide public service awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. We hope you'll tune in to our next show. Bye-bye. There is no government-funded program